What's good, guys? I'm going to be breaking down my sample. It's called Distorted and 116 beats a minute. It was in C sharp minor originally, but I pitch shifted it at the end, like I do with a lot of my samples, and just moved it down one semitone, so it's C minor. And this is what the intro sounds like. I can't wait to play this section. But this basically came from a lot of halftime, as a lot of my sounds do. But I believe it was this originally from Analog Lab. So let me take off all the effects. And basically added compression, I added some reverb, not too much, added halftime. I put it in the triplet just because it gave it this texture. See, it kind of gives this like dotted rhythm, this bounce to it, and added Portal. It's probably just the fourth shape pan, so it kind of gives it a chop effect on the quarter notes, and just some EQ. And so I bounced that out, and then I believe it was this one, I chopped it up. I don't think I reversed anything, just chopped it up. I pitched it up an octave, added compression, more halftime. So the halftime kind of brought it back down an octave, and then along with some reverb, and it just gave it this texture. So I really like that like grainy kind of distorted texture, and you tend to get that especially when you pitch stuff up and down, and especially then if you add halftime. So definitely recommend trying that with your sounds, just if you don't want that polished sound, which a lot of like digital sounds do have. So I would definitely play around with the pitch and stuff. And then yeah, I brought those over here, I chopped them up even more. I believe I stretched it, added halftime yet again, but only like 50% of the frequency range, and then I duplicated that, and then these were pitched up an octave, just with some RC20. This is from Drew Adouz, I don't know how to say his name, but this is an awesome RC20 pack. I've been using it so much recently, and I believe it's free as well, so definitely check that out. Just a bit of reverb, actually quite a lot of reverb on this one. So it's just this. So it's very washed out sounding. So yeah, I bounced those two together, and then I added a little bit of compression. I added this baby comeback delay, and I think this is just the default setting. I didn't really touch this, and just a bit of EQ here. And then into the next section, and the drums are everything. So fire, I love it. The drums are really the backbone of this sample. And then the second thing I would say is just the synth bass. It really carries it. Originally, it started with the drums, which I got from my boy Oscar, or Trust Me Lucian, you might know him. This is from a pack he just put out on his Patreon, so definitely check that out if you haven't already. And yeah, this is what it originally sounded like, so I'll take off all the effects. Super cool drum sound. Like the first thing I heard was just a synth bass carrying that. So what I did is I just pitched it up one, because again I was in C sharp minor originally, and then a bit of halftime. I do this a lot for my percussion. I will use the half and then again cut out the lows of the frequency, and then added some compression, just stock Logic compressor, and a multi-band compressor. I can't tell you how much I use a multi-band compressor now, and this is something I never used to do, but for cleaning up your mix, I feel like it's so powerful, because rather than just side chaining everything, which I used to do, I used to find that it would just give like my tracks this pumping effect that I didn't really like, and sometimes it would just really muddy it up, ironically, or at least just give me a sound I didn't want. Sometimes I do still use a sidechain, but more so on like an EQ. But yeah, multi-band compression, just because then boosting where I like the frequencies of this track, and then what I'll do is add a multi-band compressor to the other main track, most likely, and just do the copy and paste the exact same, but bring it down. So that's kind of like a manual way of sidechaining it, I guess. And then, yeah, I didn't really add any EQ, to be honest. So yeah, this is... builds up in that second half. And then the next thing was the synth bass. Oh, by the way, actually, this layer was just a continuation from here, as you can see, and it was just like this. So every other one I just reversed. And this is without all the effects. So yeah, pitched it down an octave, added some just stock Logic delay and compression, EQ, just cutting out the lows, obviously it's the bass and the drums. And then again, multi-band compression, yep, and just like I said, I've dipped down where I boosted on the drums, just so they both have space. And yeah, and then the last thing was just the synth bass, which was from Diva. And yeah, I believe it's over here. Find the bank as well. Yeah. Yep, so it's this IW Mini detuned saw lead from Ingo Widener, that bank, and just some EQ, and added this reverb. So one thing that I kind of noticed, unfortunately, with this sound was basically it would be really smooth and just glide down when it like went over the next note like that. But when I had spaces and you'd hear this, that like click. So I didn't like that, especially with the reverb. It kind of accentuated it. So what I did was I had it play through twice, as you can see here. There's only a slight variation, but I basically chopped it a little bit. So like the start of this note is actually like the middle of this note, where it didn't have that pop at the start. So it's a bit of a nuanced thing, but you know, similar to how I'd make sure I always put these fades on my audio tracks, because I basically almost just work with audio. You can see I don't really use MIDI. I always bounce it after. I would always just when I'm done, just select all of these and then add the fades, just so you never get that clicking sound. But yeah, so that was the bass. Super simple, as you saw. And it's, yeah, actually I've already played it, so I'll move on to the next one. And then here. So just a nice little section where without the drums, it kind of just lets it breathe and it kind of builds, and then it's going to be a nice drop where we take out all this high end. So this was the main texture that was added, and it just sounds crazy. Like, I love that so much. Yeah, and this preset was called Europe, and this is from Max Shooter and Keon. I love their banks. This is their Analog Tools 3. And yeah, without any effects, it just sounded like this. Just up and down an octave. So yeah, added compression, reverb. Let me see if it's, yeah, not too much reverb. I didn't want to drown it out completely. Again, this halftime. And then added an EQ. Added portal. And this is the same fourth shape pan where it just gives it that chop texture, the kind of bounce. And some RC20 again from the same bank. And a multi-band compressor. Just sounds crazy. I love that. And then yeah, this layer was from Sky Keys. This was a synth, and I'd highly recommend Sky Keys. It's like $20 or something. And there's a lot of really cool sounds in here, really good quality sounds as well. And you can do a decent amount of editing in here as well. But anyway, yeah, this was the budding swell, and it sounded, to be honest, pretty similar to how it did after. It's just delay and compression. So yeah, I just wanted something to kind of fill out that high end. To the next section. So now it just breathes. A few textures. So this. I always talk about this, but something I do so much more now is just having these parts where it's like dead space, and it gets you ready. It kind of notifies you that there's a new section coming in. It's just a nice way to break things up rather than always having everything just play all the way through. Yeah, and then, yeah, and during this section, the only thing I added, again, it's similar to the first verse, is just taking out the bass and then adding these textures. This is the same one from the intro, and here, to be honest, I couldn't really retrace my steps if I tried, but I just basically chopped up and reversed some arpeggio textures, so it sounds like this. So actually, this is the first one, and then yeah. So it's basically just, I think, an arpeggio texture I took from someone's one shot, and I just reversed it, stretched it a bit so it fit, added some compression, yeah, multi-band as well, so it's quite quiet. And yeah, this just transitions nicely to the next section, which is a nice change up this. This works really well with the drums. Again, these pauses can make a big difference. I could have maybe made it a bit smoother and added kind of a riser, but anyway. So I couldn't find the preset that I used for this, but it was from this MIDI, which I tried using on here, I believe. Super simple. I don't think I actually used the second half. I just chopped it and repeated it. And yeah, it was just, again, a nice way to break things up. And then into the next section, same up from before. So this pad was that same ARP, and I think that was actually this one. Oh no, sorry, this one. Yeah. So this was from Analog Lab, and it was, yeah, also from Analog Tools. Is called Descent, and basically with compression, reverb, halftime. Yeah, again that triplet. So just gave it that bounce. Portal, which, yeah, again the fourth shape pan, I almost always use it, and just some reverb, EQ. Oh. Okay, well, you can take my word. my laptop can't handle this while I'm recording. Swell. So yeah, that was a sample, and I really enjoyed making this one. It did take me a while to just kind of find the right layers. There's a few things I think I could have done a little bit differently. I mean, you can always make a sample different. Like, you can literally just take that same drum sound and obviously flip it into something completely different. But I really enjoyed this one, and I have to give a big shout out and thanks to Oscar, not only for always being a big inspiration to me, and being a guy who's helped me out as well, but again, for the drums. If you haven't already, definitely check out his Patreon. He's putting up kits now, as well as sample breakdowns. His stuff is next level. Highly recommend it. And yeah, that's where I got the drum sound, and honestly, that carries a sample. Had a lot of fun making this one. Yeah. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.